Good morning, range fans and fellow shooters, bench rest shooters, any 22 shooter. I'm making a video this morning about trigger control. So this is probably for more of the newer shooters out there that are wondering about triggers. What I have here is a Big Arrow on the bench. It's a BMR, but trigger control is a big factor in shooting. And we're going to talk about that a little bit. The first thing is if you're a PSL or a NRL shooter, they get on target and they get on the trigger. They run and jump and shoot. Bench rest shooters, it's a little different. And as many of you may be hunters and may be from old school where your mentor told you, yeah, get on the target, hold your breath, and just squeeze the trigger until the gun goes off and it scares you that it went off. Well, I don't use that anymore, and I don't know, maybe you think it's a good idea, but I found through the years of shooting that I want the trigger to go when I want it to go. So there are many triggers out there, and I'm going to show you a few. There's too many triggers, which I had one and I didn't enjoy it. And then there is Trigger Tech triggers. This here is a 1.5 pound trigger. And here is a Trigger Tech Diamond. Now that's a 4 to 10 ounce trigger. Now these are pretty user friendly. There's just one adjustment on it. Maybe two. I use them. There's just an adjustment screw on the bottom, and that's the pull. That's all there is. You just put it in your gun. This is a Remington style trigger, just 2 pins. And this here is a rifle basic trigger, which is, there's no more jewel triggers. Jewel's out of business, but this is a rifle basic trigger. Looks pretty much like this, as you can see. The difference is this is a 2 ounce trigger. Do I like 2 ounces? Well, let me tell you about a 2 ounce trigger. You can't change your mind. And for new shooters, I don't recommend it. Several reasons is you stick your hand in here and you bump that trigger, it's gone. It's gone. I'm telling you right now, with a 2 ounce trigger, it's gone. With a 4 ounce trigger, you might be able to get your finger in there, but it's gone. So maybe you new shooters should start with maybe a 1 pound trigger if you want to go lighter. The reason I say that is, I'll give you an example. When I'm shooting, I am there watching, and my finger is right here, just like this. I don't know if you can see that right there, and I'm looking, and I'm watching. And my conditions there, I said, okay, there it is. It's like bang, 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 bang. You know, I close her up. Bang. Bang. Now this is a 1 pound trigger. So you could get your finger right in there if you want. And when you're ready, the reason I say that is because in a bench rest shooting, the conditions change fast and furiously. The wind picks up, it lets off, it picks up, it lets off. So you've got to be ready. So you're on your gun and you're watching, and your finger's up here, and you're watching your wind flags. That looks like the condition I want. Then I'm there. Bang. 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 With a heavier trigger, 2-3 pounds, it's very difficult to get on there and be steady. And if you notice, this is pretty steady. I have it set in a man billy because it's wider. It's flat. You just put it on here, and then I can put it on a bag, and you can see it sitting there pretty solid. So then I can use my trigger. Now, the reason this has a 1 pound trigger in it is because these triggers, like this trigger here, is almost $300. That's a lot of money. A lot of people don't spend that much on a gun. This trigger here from Rifle Basic, which I have in most all my guns, 2 to 6 ounces, is like $180 without the safety. So I use them. Let me tell you about this Rifle Basic. I'm not getting any endorsements or anything from Rifle Basic. I just got permission to talk about their triggers on here. A Rifle Basic trigger, I put it in my gun. It didn't function right. I called down, and the gentleman that answered the phone said, "What's the problem?" And I told him that it had a little bit of movement in the trigger right here, like this. I didn't like that. He said, "Do you have it apart?" "Yes." "You have the Allen wrench I sent you?" "Yes." "Stick it in the upper hole, turn it a quarter of a turn out. Now try it." "Oh, it's gone." "Try the trigger." "Perfect." "Now turn your bottom screw in like 1/8 of a turn." "Now try it." It was really nice. "Thank you. If you ever have problems," he said, "call me. He'll talk to you." Trigger Tech, you call them, they're a major company. You get a hold of them, and it's dial 1 for this, dial 2 for that, dial 3 for that, dial 4 for that. If you want English, press 1. If you want, and then you wait. I need to know now. That's why I switched to Rifle Basic. Do I have many of them? Well, if I told you it's scary, I probably have 7 of them now. This is a spare. I take it with me because if any failure to range, it's going to be in the trigger. But that's me. You don't have to have a spare. That's just something that it usually goes wrong, a trigger. And I can put a trigger in the range in about 5 minutes, only because I put in lots and lots of triggers. There's just 2 big pins. You take them out, the trigger goes right in, put the pins back in, they're ready to go. It's already pre-adjusted, it's ready to go. That's why I use Rifle Basic, BASIX. He's on the internet. You just call him, tell him what you want. He has different poundages for different guns. Very nice company to work for or work with. I use them. And the thing about this trigger is it's 2 ounces. You can't change your mind. With my finger right here, and I'm ready to go, bang, it's off. There's no change in your mind. Once you decide to go for it, it's there. It's off. It's safe. I can go ahead and cycle the gun. I'm ready it again. Because of my conditions there, I try to shoot as many targets as possible. And you have to remember now, when you're shooting them, please shoot as fast as you can, but don't hurry. Don't hurry. It's just shoot as fast as you can, but don't hurry. Hurrying, you'll make mistakes. Remember, I told you other videos about crosshairs being up and down. In my rest, it moves left and right perfect. I just turn the knob while I'm watching. Next target. It's there. Bang. Cycle the gun. Next target. Condition. Bang. I've been shooting for over 50 years, so I like a light trigger. I went to them about 25, 30 years ago, and I've been with them ever since. I thought a 1 pound trigger was the answer, but uh, I went to a light trigger, and I really like them. I have a Favio trigger, Bix and Andy triggers. I'm not going to pull them out of my guns to show them to you. These are spares. Like this is a spare trigger. This is a spare trigger. Here's 2 spare triggers. Here, I have lots of triggers. Here's another trigger here. These are full of triggers. Here's another couple triggers. And over here's another trigger. Through trial and error, which that's why I'm making this video. If you want to do 4-ounce trigger, you could get a rifle basic. When you call him, you tell him I want it set at 4 ounces, and when you get it, it'll be at 4 ounces. You can buy this trigger tech for just a little under $200-300, and it's very easy to adjust. There's one screw right here, and you just turn it. It only comes down to 4 ounces, so you can take the screw completely out. It's only going to 4 ounces. It's like a 4 to 8 ounce trigger. 4 ounces is very nice. And they come with a safety. They go in that hole right there. You just stick them in there. This is a right-handed safety. They come with a left-handed safety. This is another right-handed. This is a 1-pound trigger. And I have that. A lot of new shooters come here, and they have a 4 or 5-pound trigger, and they want to go lighter. So I put a 1-pound trigger in, and they think that's the greatest thing. And it isn't very long after that. Let me try your trigger. So you got to work up to them. So what I'm trying to tell you is trigger control is you're on target, you're waiting, and I don't want to wait. Bang. You know, I shoot it when I want it to shoot. I don't get there and squeeze and squeeze and squeeze and squeeze and wait for it to go off. When I want it to go off, I reach in and touch it. There's no change in my mind with a 2-ounce trigger. It is very, very light. I can't give you a demonstration how light a 2-ounce trigger is, except that guys say if you breathe on it, it'll go off. Well, it won't, but it's not very far above that. So think about trigger and trigger control. Now, a lot of guns you can't dry fire. That's what this is. This is a dry fire. No ammunition in it. Older rifles, that'll ding up your chamber face. So don't dry fire them. Get yourself some snap cats. Put them in there. I know which guns I can dry fire, which ones I can't. Do I dry fire a lot? Oh, yes, I do a lot. I get down there and can find out what position fits me best. You know, my head straight up and down on the scope. And I try not to put any pressure here at all, just enough to see through the scope. This is not a removable cheek piece, but if it's removable, I take them off. And I watch it, and I get down there, and I'm trying to work that trigger. Okay, there it is. Bang. You know, cycle the gun. And then I'm down there again. And you say, what am I holding on? I just have a mark on the wall down there. And can I see it? If you don't have enough distance, put a mirror down there and put the dot on this wall. I've done that for years. And look in the mirror, there's that dot. And I get on it. I want to load. There it is. There it is. And the gun, you know, it goes off when I want it to go off. And most shooters, you'll notice, they shoot them. Josh from Pursuit of Accuracy, watch him. He's very good at it. He's there. He's on target. Bang. He's on target. Bang. He doesn't wait. He pulls the trigger. It goes off when he wants it to go off. And that's what I'm trying to get across to you. Because one thing we can't change, and that's the conditions, the wind, and the way it is at the range. So when you get a condition that looks good, you want that gun to go off. You don't want to be there waiting and pulling and waiting and pulling, hoping it goes off, come on, before it picks up. You want that trigger to go off when you want it to go off. Trigger control. Do you have to practice it? Absolutely. It doesn't come naturally, I can tell you that. You'll learn that people put it, the trigger, like a trigger. They'll have it way in, some just on the tip. When you have a lighter trigger, you can just touch the very tip. Some people are way in here. And that's entirely up to you what type of trigger you want. If you can live with what you have, then don't pay attention to this video. But if you'd like to go lighter, those are triggers I recommend. They're pretty inexpensive. There's no good deals in triggers. You get what you pay for. If you buy a cheap trigger, that's what you're going to have. These two Trigger Tech, Chimney, and Rifle Basic triggers, I feel are very good triggers. Bix and Andes, Favio, they're all good triggers. But again, those are top of the line. Bix and Andes are over 400. Favio's over 500. Not too many new shooters are going to jump that high. So you may want to start with this 1 pound trigger, I think was $180. It's a Trigger Tech. You can buy them at a lot of places, sell Trigger Techs. Timones are around the same price, $115 to $160 for a Timony. And you can put them in Savages. You can put them in your MTRs and your Tikas, I think. And then there's jarred triggers, custom made triggers. I've never had a jarred trigger. I can't tell you anything about a jarred trigger. I just don't use them. I'm not one to buy a trigger and experiment with it. It's a lot of money to experiment with the trigger. I go with ones that I like. How do you know what triggers? I ask the best shooters out there, what trigger you got in your gun? And they'll tell you. And I agree, some are shooting jarred triggers. They've told me that. I just haven't progressed to a jarred yet. I like these rifle basics. They fit my Bagheeras, and they fit my Voodoos, and they fit my Turbos, and they fit my this Bagheera, my other B14. So I go with them. I try to keep things simple. One trigger for all my guns. Like these triggers you see here, I tried them. I'm going to sell it. This one here, I'll sell them. They're not keeping them. So if you have any questions, put it down in the message below. I'll try to answer it. But I want you all to have a good day. I hope to see you at the 50-yard line, and God bless you all.